Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a great and wonderful day. Okay, so what we're seeing here is just a complete lunacy and another complete failure of Disney. I mean, it's not really surprising. If we keep supporting companies like Disney and all these other lunatics, and surprise, surprise, guess who the actual person is making it? And no, I'm talking about the actual gender because it doesn't take too much of a brain to realize what's going on here. So, it seems that Disney is being a, terrible organization, a terrible company for remaking things we don't want remade. And what we have is this. Disney's Bambi remake will change a key scene to avoid traumatizing kids. Oh boy, what is it now? Disney's Bambi is getting a live-action remake over 80 years since the animated version hit screens. Like the company's other classic cartoons to get the treatment, the news has divided fans of their entertainment giant. They have taken to social media to express their dissent. I expect in about a year or so's time, or whenever this comes out, will now lose a lot of money. Good job, Disney. You're now making less money. In an interview with Collider on September 26th, writer Lindsey Anderson Beer shared her plans for the remake. I do think there is a way to update Bambi and our take on it to give a little bit more of a scope to it. And just I think that to be able to bring it to life for kids these days in a way that maybe they relate to a little bit more will be a service to the original, she said. No, because the original has nothing to do with this. You know what happens when we do things in terms of, having shock value? There was a lot of fans when it comes to anime when a lot of grape is happening in anime or when these things happen. Now, I understand that grape is a terrible and horrible thing and it probably should never happen. However, this is just reality of things. When you put these type of shock values or shock things into movies, or what have you, it creates, it gets a bit more darkness and death into the show. Now, obviously, there are correct ways of doing this. You're not going to just automatically put a grape scene in it and just have a grape scene for no actual reason. You need to have an actual legitimate reason or have a compounding instance of that, why it's happening there. I may believe you would have Tokyo Revengers, which would be the next best anime for this in terms of what not being shown, but it shows the death and darkness. It immediately sets the tone of the show, anime, or whatever you're watching. That sets what the show is about to be. When you have this type of stuff in, it immediately shows on how dark or how evil or how bad the show will be taken. Because knowing when you have stuff like this in a show, you're automatically know it's not going to be lighthearted. And here's the thing here: when Bambi's mother dies, it shows the death and grim nature of it all. I mean, there's a lot of good things in Bambi, and removing the fact because I'm going to assume because this lady here seems like a feminist. She doesn't like it when women are dead or have a supernatural value. Sometimes when women die, there's actually a good, strong meaning into it in perspective. So, say for instance, a woman dies, but everybody is saved in the process, that's technically a good thing. Removing the person from dying, specifically the woman in this case, would actually have a worse impact on the movie because that means everything that she did is for naught. Death can have a significant sequence in this, but enough of this, or me rambling. It's just, what this is just completely stupid. A recent poll conducted by Redfield and Wilton Strategies on behalf of Newsweek found that 50% of American adults were happy for Disney to update its older content to align with modern values, although the majority of respondents wish Disney would create new stories rather than remake its archive. Exactly. Because this is all Disney can do. These are the only thing that the writers can do. Now, the writer's strike, what I'm going to get to you guys here in a second here, is that you guys are idiots. You're all terrible at your job. You have no ability to create. The reason why I say this, you have no ability to create, is because all you've been doing is been remaking old things that you've already had under your disposal. Why can't you create something new? It's almost like you have the incapability of actually being able to write, draw, or make something new behind you. It's like, the only reason why I don't draw things is because my ability to draw is horrible. So I'll have somebody that is an expert and good at drawing to come to bring my visions and my other stuff to life. Kind of makes sense. And we go over back and forth of what should and should not be. And this is something that happens. You go back and forth, you do reiterations and all this other stuff, and you make sure that things are in perfect order so that way you have the best vision of what you want. You people can't do this because you guys have the incapability of drawing or writing something that is completely new that people would like. And when you do something new, you add your woke, stupid agenda to it, and then nobody likes it. How about just write something that does not have an agenda at all, and just write something that everybody would like? It doesn't make any sense. However, fans are unhappy with the idea of modernizing Bambi, which was released in 1942 and was Walt Disney's fifth feature-length animation. How exactly do you modernize something that took place in the middle of the forest? Wrote J.O. Draconis on X. The social network, formerly known as Twitter, there was nothing about Bambi's original story that screamed this was made in the 40s. Bambi is literally a universally understood story, posted to Abby Rhodey. It's coming-of-age tale told with animals in a timeless forest, full of moments of joy, loss, danger, and love, all facets of not only the human experience but life itself. There is zero need to modernize it. Slim agreed in writing. It's a film that is legitimately timeless and can't be modernized because there's nothing about it that has been made irrelevant or outdated. Dragging out classics from the graves and putting out on shiny new clothes to squeeze more money out of them is disrespectful to the latter legacy and become a demanding artist. You're meant to be a creative company, stop rehashing and go create. Exactly. These people can't stop it though. They're incapable of being able to stop it. And she goes on to say here, Beer said the original animation is a different tempo to what modern audiences are accustomed to, highlighting the scene where Bambi's mom is shot and killed by a hunter. There's a treatment of the mom dying that I think some parents these days are more sensitive about than they were in the past, and I think that's one of the reasons that they haven't shown it to their children, Beer said. Well, no, because part of the reason why people haven't really shown Bambi in particular isn't because of that. They haven't shown Bambi because, well, a lot of the moms that would be moms of current day probably haven't even known or seen Bambi. That's another thing as well. Like, if you're going to talk about anybody else from like the 2000s to even maybe 2005, they'd probably be lucky to even see Bambi, let alone know about his whereabouts. It's the same thing with a lot of things. People probably don't know a lot about Lion King and certain things in certain years because, they haven't seen it. That's the thing. People are angry because a lot of people have seen, A Little Mermaid and things because we grew up on it and all that stuff. But a lot of the people that would be growing up even current today probably don't even know what Bambi is. That's a complete difference. Disney has released a spat of live-action remakes of its animated classics in recent years. Although some of these films, including The Lion King and The Little Mermaid, perform well at the box office, the decision to overhaul its classic cartoons has split fans. While attempts to make old stories more politically correct has angered conservatives, after the black actress Halle Berry was cast as Ariel in the live-action version of The Little Mermaid, the 20-year-old became the target of abuse online. Yeah, right, she was a target of abuse, sure. Rachel Zegler, who was playing Snow White in the upcoming remake, was also attacked by social media trolls for calling the 1937 film outdated. Right. She was tagged by old social media trolls. Right. It wasn't because Rachel Zegler is the worst narcissistic human being on the planet. It doesn't have anything to do with that. Also completely changing the race and the actual tone and way the movie is presented. Yeah. Normally, I don't have a problem with actors doing stuff like this because, they're just being paid and doing what they're paid for. But Rachel Zegler really came out to be a horrible and terrible human being to work with, let alone like. So it wasn't just her, it wasn't just like the movie itself, it was also herself, as a person, that was terrible. Disney's move to modernize Bambi remake sparks outrage. Writer Lindsey Anderson recently told Collider that she is working the script on to update animated film, blah 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 blah. And we have this, not to spoil the plot, but there's a treatment of the mom, blah 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 blah, dying, having shown the children, etc. etc. So, yeah. People are angry about this, and rightfully so. You shouldn't have to touch this movie at all. We have this as well. The former Disney screenwriter behind Bambi remake calls for a scene in which the famous deer's mother dies to be scrapped because it's too triggering for parents and children. Right. It's too triggering for parents and children. Right. It's too triggering. I highly doubt this is the case. So, again, I see this movie failing immensely. I think that this movie is not going to do well at all. Because, again, you're not listening to your audience. Your audience doesn't want this. Your people do not want this. And you're going to still enforce your horrible agenda of political ideas on the other people. And lo and behold, why is it a woman again? Why is it that another woman is doing something like this? This is the reason why that, women are leading the downfall to society in general. Why are you guys doing this consistently? All of you are in these higher up positions, and I'm probably going to be making a video at some point too as well with this, later down in time, where how a lot of men are just avoiding the workspace and stuff. you're destroying gyms because of the way you guys were trying to frame men for things that they've been doing, because you have no accountability, and then now you're going out and destroying so many of these other things. Now, don't get me wrong, there was 2 guys that destroyed our beloved Star Wars franchise, so men have fucked up too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, my Star Wars is dead. All right, it is gone. It is deceased. It's no longer the same thing. But ladies are going out and remaking doing Barbie stuff. They remade Bambi. They're destroying Snow White. They're doing so much damage to everything that we love, and it's just so disheartening to see this happen. And it's just like, this is the reality of things, where our movies and everything is dying, and it's sad. But I see the writing on the wall. I predict a horrible downfall for this movie, and I can't wait to see it. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care.